Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on July 2nd, 2025. Wasn't sure if I was going to get anybody here today because yesterday was Canada Day. Friday is Independence Day. Is that what you guys call it?
Correct.
Okay.
Happy Canada Day.
Okay, thank you very much. So, but Dominic is here on time. Dominic Maiani, M-A-I-N-I. Is that right?
M-A-I-A-N-I.
M-A-I-A-N-I. And I'll just say right at the start that he's got his own fabulous show every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern.
Correct. Yep.
It's on for an hour. You call in. He's got a bunch of nice guys and women there, recruiters, and you just talk about whatever you want, okay? And you can check it out on YouTube as well under Dominic's name. Is that the
Let me see. I think it is. Let me double check.
Okay. That's something you should know right off the bat. Okay?
I put it in the chat. I should change it back to my name.
Okay. Here's okay. It's Quota Killers. That's it. Quota Killers. I kind of like that, you know? Quota Killers. It's not recruiting oriented enough though. That's the problem. If someone's looking for a recruiting show, that sounds like a sales show. Okay?
It's gonna be. That's why I wanted that domain so nobody could take it.
Okay, I like it. Good for you. Okay, first question. It's a bit of an odd one. There's another good show called Digital Recruiter. I don't know if you've ever come across it. And okay, he appears in my shorts. I like going through YouTube Shorts. There's no ads and all that. That's what I like about it mainly. And you get little clips. And he had some clips from his show. I've been seeing a lot of them for the first time, but a ton of them. And he was interviewing a recruiter, and he asked her what's her key to success. And she said, God is sorry. God is helping her. I'm sorry. God is helping her.
Who was that?
I don't know her name. I didn't look it up. Okay. Now I've seen that before. Only once somebody said that, right? But if you got a candidate in there and I've got a candidate in there and my candidate gets the job, does that mean God's helping me and he doesn't like you? Okay. You don't know. Yeah. No comment. You want to say no comment, Animal. I'm not getting involved in this one.
No, you keep religion and politics out of the play.
Okay. But you had to ask these days, which God was she talking about? I mean, was it Krishna? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. Okay.
I know.
I just thought it was kind of funny. You rarely see that, but you know, Alan, you came just in time. Alan Fleur. Are you ready for my first question to answer it, Alan?
Yeah.
Alan, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Alan? Yes? Okay. Does God help you make hires? Source candidates?
All kinds of powers. All kinds of powers help me make placements. I don't care if it's...
Look, he's got the cranes in the background. Oh, I thought they were power grids before. But look, this woman who she was interviewed, she said one of her keys to success is God's helping her. Okay, so
great.
Okay, I'm the only one who thought that was a bit odd. Okay, I guess.
Ben Mina just had a guest on his podcast, and she was talking about how did she get into this? God spoke to her. Oh, and if that's what helps you, great.
That's different. Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, how long should a candidate, you guys, how long should you give a candidate time to decide on an offer? This is what the Shark says, okay? If you want a week to decide on a job offer, you don't really want that job. If you want a week, it's no good. Something's wrong. Dominic, you first. Got an opinion?
Yeah, well, it depends on if it's a contract role versus a direct hire opportunity. Right? Like I have a candidate right now that had an offer for a contract role, but has another offer now from our client for a full-time role. Of course, they're going to take the full-time role on this one. In this situation, in this scenario, yeah.
No, okay, you're missing the point, okay? I'm giving you the offer for the job. You say, recruiting Animal, let me think about it. How long do you need, Dominic? A week. And I'm saying to myself, he's not serious about this job. What's there to think about at this point for a week?
I mean, if you did all your proper due diligence up front and it was the right role, the right time, right fit, I mean, why does he need a week? I mean, but if they're really going to take care of me,
no, let's turn the tables. You will say, okay, recruiting animal, you take some time to think about it. How much do you need? And I say a week. What are you going to tell me? Okay, great. Call me on a week from Monday. Is that what you're going to say?
I'm going to say
Alan's got an answer. I can tell. Go ahead, shoot.
I think there's a big. It depends. I think if the person is single and we've cut, like Dom says, if we've covered most of our bases through the process, I give them no more than 1 to 3 days. Now, but if they're married, if they've got kids and other things, I've come to learn in my industry, people actually want to see it, bring it to their spouse, talk it through. It depends. But if they're sitting there in my industry, when I came in, I saw a lot of our offers go out with 10 to 30 days on the clock. And I'm like, no, we're dropping this to 3 days today. And then we can still honor it, but we need that 3 days.
Okay. He's working in the construction field. If you say the candidate has to take it to the spouse, husband or wife, whatever, okay, are you saying you don't ask anybody earlier on, have you discussed this with your family? That's not your question until later on. Okay, well then the husband or wife knows all about it already, right?
No. Look, it's just like some of our candidates, and especially like Amy's. They're like, okay, look, let me put it on a spreadsheet, and they just want to look at the offer letter and figure it and plug it all in and figure it all out because there's details. I mean, if you're a 5+, Dominic, help me here. If you're a 5+ year experienced person, healthcare, health benefits are,
that's what I was just going to say is that, right? Like, okay, well, hey, if this person's currently working, right, and you give them the offer letter, okay, I need a couple days to sit down with my wife to go over, maybe she's working too. We got to figure out which benefits plan is going to be better for the family. Maybe we got a kid on the way. Okay, do we go with that? Your plan's better and we get a better, you have to look at all that. They do, at least the smart ones that I work with, they do. It's like, okay, I have to look at everything. What makes the most sense? Do we go on my insurance or yours? How does that work? Good thing I don't handle any of that. My wife does.
Do we move the start date? Because that's going to affect when I start my coverage. If not, if I can't move my start date, hey, animal, you're hiring me. Can you cover my COBRA for a month or 2 months or whatever it is?
That's such a great point. You're absolutely right about it. I forgot about that piece. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if we pushed it, if you waited a week, then you're gonna have to wait another 27 days, 25 days, right? But if you start now, you can get blah blah blah.
What's COBRA? I don't know.
COBRA is a government program that says, animal, you're leaving Oracle. You get to keep your exact same health insurance plan, but you're paying the full price instead of Oracle paying part of it or most of it or all of it. And you can keep that for up to 18 months. But if you're starting at a company where let's say animal, you start at a company today on this July 2nd, but you have to work a full calendar month, which means you have to work the entire partial month of July, the full month of August, and then your insurance starts September 1st. That becomes a negotiating point.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in a different country than them.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So I just maybe there's people watching other countries as well. Now, there's something you guys didn't mention, which changes everything. The assumption here that I was going with is that this is the only offer the candidate's going. When Alan mentioned Amy, I realized the candidate might have other positions on the go as well. So if the candidate told you that, listen, I'm looking at 2 other jobs as well, how would that change what you said to him or her about how much time because Alan said I give 72 hours. Is that right, Alan?
The letters have a 72-hour clock on them. Yes.
What does it say to them? How's that stated?
It's just basically this offer is good for 72 hours. And if anybody ever asks, my response is, we're guaranteeing this for you for 72 hours. We hope after we've talked about everything, you're ready to move. But it works a quick and dirty animal. It works better on interns and new college grads because look, you got 3 days to take care of it. We're guaranteeing it for 3 days. but we've got 5 other people. If you're not ready, that's fine. We'll move on. We're not guaranteeing it beyond. If you come back to us in 7 days, maybe we have it, maybe we don't.
Okay. Okay, but if they've got 2 other jobs going, okay, this is kind of what we talked about last week as well. What would you say to them? Okay, well, see it out, or
No,
would you say
72? No, I keep the 72 hours, and then we all get. I'm sure Dominic and Tommy get. They get gut feelings of, okay, I know this offer is being played against another one, so let's go with that assumption.
Tom doesn't run into that situation because he almost always refuses to or never has candidates who are looking at other positions. But a lot of
always.
but there's never always, okay, 99% of the time. You stress to us, it's one of your basic rules, okay? Don't give me that kind of feedback, okay? Anybody else want in on that? Dominic, if somebody is looking at more than one job, and they say, Dominic, I won't know what's happening with these other companies for another 2 weeks, what are you going to say?
I mean, that's it's on the recruiter if you do your due diligence from day one, work with them through the process, stay in contact.
They told you at day one, Dominic, I'm looking at your company, but I've got right from the start, I've got other possibilities as well. And it's a good candidate.
Yeah, none of that changes. If it's a good candidate, like I have a guy right
I'm
now.
assuming it's a good candidate, okay? You're making an offer.
Yeah, but when I'm talking about like this is a whale candidate where the company will move the salary range for, right? This is the guy I'm talking to right now. They'll wait around for this guy. As soon as he says yeah, they will give him an offer whatever day he's ready to move.
Okay, so but that means also that you're holding up the rest of your search for this guy, or you're not.
No, he's the guy that they bring in no matter what. You have to.
Does anyone understand what I just said? If you've got Billy as your fantastic candidate and he says, no, recruiter, I can't tell you for 2 weeks till my other process is finished. Are you going to stop the search and wait for him, or are you going to bring more candidates in to be interviewed? Anybody? Anybody? I don't think any recruiter is going to stop the search. I think they'll keep bringing candidates in. Then the question comes up, are you going to tell those candidates that there's an offer out there already, but it's uncertain? Anybody want to address that? No? Okay, I think that if you've got an offer on the table for a candidate, you're bringing someone else in, you might want to tell them, now, this is a situation. Now, that comes back to the other question we discussed a few weeks ago. If the first candidate turns down the offer, and the person's the second choice, are you going to tell them they're the second choice? Everybody here almost said no. They're not telling the candidate that. That's not his concern. Am I the only one who's got opinions about this?
No.
Yeah, I guess so. If you've got I'll just give you a last chance. If you've got a candidate says, I'm not a good candidate, real good, not going to be available for 2 weeks I can't give you an answer on this offer. Are you going to keep recruiting, sending other people in to see your client? Yes or no? Let's vote.
Yeah,
yes.
I would.
Tom, are you awake? No. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm not, Animal. I'm here, but I'm busy. Don't bug me, okay? That's a rich thing. Okay, I'm moving on. Okay. San Francisco rocks. Here's a guy said, first off, there's a recruiter called The Shark, okay? He said, the places you couldn't pay me to live in. And I think it was a bit tongue-in-cheek. He said San Francisco, Seattle, and New York City, okay? Then this other guy posted just today, in the last 2 days, I've had dinner with Naval Ravikant and visited the windsurf offices. I've had more networking opportunities in 6 months of living in San Francisco than I did in 9 years living in New York. If you're building right now, he's a creator for a founder for a startup. If you're building right now and you're not living in San Francisco, you are a moron, okay? Everyone who says, I can't believe you moved to that dumpster should stop watching Fox News. There's one bad neighborhood, and the new mayor cleaned it up a lot, okay? This is the tech capital of the world. The economic opportunity here right now is beyond comprehension. Are there places like that where people should go if they're gonna further their careers? Anybody? No.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes,
Where?
for
Give me an
construction,
example.
Southern California, Arizona, parts of Texas.
Yeah.
Charlotte for the tech world on the East Coast, Charlotte, data centers, Atlanta, construction data centers, governmental, DC, Alexandria, Fairfax. Baltimore's murder rate was at the 6 month mark 4 years ago was at 222. Today it's at 68. We've climbed up in Baltimore. We'll probably never get to a point where Baltimore is really a good city to live because we have too many blue collar kind of not good like we'll never turn into a New York, so to speak. But Baltimore's a good place to live now. They're really cleaning it up. So yeah, there are a lot of cool places you can live that people don't think about because the news is horrible
you just
about
need
that.
a half a dozen cities. This guy was saying there's one place to be, San Francisco. He said I was in New York and it wasn't the same.
No. I mean that's just again another kind of like real like you're gonna like I don't know. I
That's
just
somebody,
like,
yeah. Come on, it's like somebody just went to the nice restaurant and they're like, "Oh my God, this is the best restaurant in the world. If you don't live near this restaurant, you're stupid."
He said, I've been there 6 months and I've done, had fantastic networking opportunities.
Well,
What
let's
about-
talk about networking opportunities. What does he mean by network opportunity? I was in the same room as all these guys that I got to meet him. I got a card. I got a meeting after the
He
networking
said, I had
opportunity.
dinner.
What?
I had dinner with Naval Ravikant, who's very famous.
Who the hell is Naval Ravikant?
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Nobody I care about.
and the thing, and that's just it. Like, I guess in the tech world, San Francisco is probably a great place if you're really big into AI and all that stuff. Yeah, sure, great. But
if you want,
you can sit there and say that's the only place to live.
You want to be,
Yeah.
he prattled off. Tommy prattled off the other places. I can say Silicon Beach in Santa Monica
No, but hold on. Now, you were different. You gave only 3 places, and
for
then
construction.
Tom
Right.
started going through the phone book. Okay, and then he gave us. Do you live in Baltimore now? Is that what you were referring to? Your personal experience, Tom?
My dad lives in Baltimore. I go and visit him all the time.
Oh, okay.
All the time.
Dominic, any comments? You live in Detroit, is that right?
Yeah, well, Metro Detroit, but where I would live if I was top sales rep, that's most of the roles that I do that are all remote. I'd go to any state that it doesn't take my income tax. So,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
ones are those?
I know Rich.
Florida.
Yeah, but dude, I lived in Florida. Do you know how much property taxes are and homeowners insurance?
Yeah, it depends on
They
where
get
you
you
live.
either way. It doesn't matter, right?
I know.
Like, yeah,
They
don't
do.
take. I lived in Florida for years. Right now, I had a $400,000 beach house. My homeowners insurance was $8,000 a year. My property taxes were $9,000 a year.
Yeah, it's just
The house I live in now,
trouble.
I paid is worth $700,000. My property taxes are, I don't know, like $6,000, and my homeowners insurance is like $1,000.
Where are you?
If you have a really
Where are
good
you?
CPA, you can really live anywhere.
Annapolis, yeah, that's true. As also,
Yeah.
Funny, my cousin visited. I went for coffee with a cousin of mine on Friday. Lives in Florida. He had a snake in his driveway when he came home one night, and his neighbor had an alligator. He showed me the picture. I wouldn't like
I
that.
caught an alligator on the way to a poker game once.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, but what Dominic said, Rich also said, or his copywriter said in an article just a week or so ago, he said, if you want to hire a top sales rep, don't make him or her come into the office, which means they can live anywhere. The city is not relevant. At least that's what I assume he meant. I could be wrong. Okay. It strikes me that
It's
Go ahead.
industry specific.
Yeah.
maybe, but he might agree with San Francisco because
It's fine.
he's working in the he's working in the startup world. We had a question, Tom, about this woman said God helps her recruiting. Any comment on that, or want to take a pass?
You don't want to have me comment on that because I'm an agnostic atheist.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. Next question. Would you present this candidate? Okay. She's a great candidate. She's interested, but her non-compete agreement says she can't work in this industry, listen to this, in any capacity at all for 6 months after leaving her current employer. Would you present that candidate to your client?
So
Yep.
any industry, I need more information. The 6 months is very reasonable. The any industry, it would have to be whether or not you'd have to show whether or not that she could impact that company by taking that role. For example, if she was a sales rep and then she, and let's say she's selling bottle washing equipment, and she goes and becomes an operations manager in the bottle washing equipment department, they can't enforce the non-compete on that. No, because it's specifically non-competes, right? The more narrow they are and the more specific they are, the better they're into force. When you use words like entire, right, you set yourself up for failure. When you use words like the entire industry or all of North America or anything that, if you want to enforce a non-compete because you're worried about, let's say, 3 direct competitors, like Dom makes them sign it, and you can't go work for Palmer Roads, you can't go work for Next Level Executive Search, and you can't go work for Right Hand Recruiting, right? Like that's enforceable, right? You can recruit, you just can't work for those 3 companies. Or you can recruit in logistics, but you just can't recruit in logistics sales as it relates to SaaS companies. Like that's how non-compete should be written.
Okay, so you would present this candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Under the guise of telling my client you're going to have to indemnify her and the non-compete's a piece of shit. So if you're okay with that, yes.
Okay. What about you, Dom? Want to get in on that or not?
Yeah. First off, I've been through a lot of non-competes, right? It has to be within a reasonable area of office, and even that's fine. Now what they're doing is a non-solicit. It's kind of like what Tom said. You can't go work for this company. But a lot of clients will still look at the non-competes because they're written terribly. They're just written, it's like, yeah, you can't work in any recruiting firm in the United States. Well, that is garbage. But here's the thing. Even if it's garbage, they don't care. It's to scare you, and it's to make you, now you have to go get an attorney, and it's going to cost you all this money. So they know it's just to scare you.
Yeah, but it scares are the employers scared?
Some aren't, some are.
But some of the newer employers, if it's a candidate that's not worth it, they're like, we're not going to even deal with it.
It's a great candidate. We put down that was a
and also it goes by state. Like California, non-competes are illegal on face value. You cannot enforce a non-compete of any kind in California. You can do non-solicitation agreements, and they have to be very specific. Like Google can make a guy sign a thing. You can't go work for Yahoo, right? But it has to be a very specific capacity, and you can't take trade secrets, stuff like that. But non-competes in general in California are illegal on face. You cannot enforce.
I thought that was national.
Nope. No, Biden signed that order, then it got overturned at Texas's court. So you have some states like Maryland, Virginia. Maryland's a little harder. Virginia's really easy. They'll let you out of non-compete. Florida is really bad. Oklahoma, I think, is like California. And then you have some states that have put in rules. I think it's New York. Is it New York now? Or New Jersey, maybe, that said no life saving. Like you can't enforce non-competes on doctors, lawyer, anything that is detrimental to the person, right? Like, so you can't enforce a non-compete on a cardiologist. Like they said, no, none on that. So they are, a lot of the, each state has their kind of own rules, but on face value, many states will enforce non-competes. Many states are very business friendly versus other states that are very worker friendly. It just depends.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
And the reason I know this is Simpson Strong Tie would laugh at them. Nucor wanted to look at them, and if their attorneys looked at them and said, hey, this is a bullshit, we'll indemnify them. That's how I know a lot about this, because I looked at the non-compete, would send them off, and then when they would laugh and go, no, we'll indemnify the guy, I looked at what the reasons were and how big and how broad and what state and whatnot. And what it comes down to is I think Dom said this, management recruiters, this is back in the day, they knew they couldn't win most of the time, but they would just drag you through court. They'd spend $20,000. They had attorneys on retainer that were just there. They spend $20,000 and drag you through court, make you spend every penny you had, bankrupt you. So all the other recruiters saw what happened, and I ain't fucking leaving.
I saw that happen. I had it happen when I was at Microtemps, Microtemps National. My friend Tommy left, and he got a nasty gram that they're going to charge him $300,000 if he gets into recruiting. And I called a lawyer, and the guy when the guy got done laughing, he was just like, just don't even respond to it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And nothing ever happened.
Okay. Now I'll note that Amy is a recruiter, a corporate recruiter, and she went from Microsoft to Microsoft to Google to Amazon. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Again, different.
Different
Those
market.
big tech companies don't give a shit about HR. They're trade
Yeah.
secrets, right? They don't want you taking their Gemini code over to Anthropic, right? Or they don't want you taking Google's algorithms for how they do all their web searches over to Yahoo. I mean, that's what they care about. They don't give
Yeah.
a shit about a recruiter.
Like
or
they want to make sure that they want to make sure that Tommy working at Google doesn't and he's a head guy in the self-driving car area, that he doesn't go to somebody else and everything that's in his head. I had it happen in the electricity world 20 years ago when I was looking for a head of legal, and I got a hold of head of counsel Dominic, and he closed his door. We talked. He goes, "I know the organization. I'd be perfect for it. I could help them. I could do this. And there's no way I can ever take the job because everything I know in my head, I'd be conflicting myself out all the time." So
Zuckerberg just stole a bunch of people from
Who did?
OpenAI. Zuckerberg,
Oh,
a bunch of people, right? Like, and because it's California, like they can't do shit, right? He stole their.
He stole 7 so far.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on this new document I just got. Here, I'll show it on the screen. And he, yeah, I mean, like, and they're offering. Remember, you said the $1 million sign-on bonuses?
yeah.
I found that what they were talking about. It was $1 million. It's RSUs. They have to vest in the RSUs, but it is $1 million in RSU vesting that they were offering. Right. So these are the guys they got.
okay.
See?
They don't need any
Gemini, DeepMind, Gemini. I mean, these are all the guys that Zuckerberg got.
Okay. Moving
That's
on.
crazy. You know, and then this guy, Wang, they will be the company's chief AI officer.
He is insane. He's incredible.
Wang is?
Yeah. Listen to his podcast with Sean Ryan.
Okay, I will. Thanks. Yeah, these guys, the average salary out there for these AI guys is $500,000.
Millions for some.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a bunch of guys. I saw a thing. It was like guys making like 1.2, 1.7 base salaries plus all the other incentives. But they're also working 60 to 80 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Recruiters are self-absorbed and narrow-minded. Okay. It's always the recruiters with no technical skills and no functional experience, no hands-on experience in the field, who think most candidates should be excited about their least competitive offers. It's kind of like the dumbest or most ignorant people think they know the most because they have no idea of
Dunning-Kruger.
What did you say?
The Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, Dunning-Kruger. Okay, do you think that's true of recruiters as well? If you've never worked in the field, that doesn't mean anything. You know what people are earning because if you talk to 20 or 30 people on a search, you'll have a good idea what's reasonable and what isn't, right? Anybody want to? It's obvious, isn't it? Is this guy wrong? What he just said about recruiters? I know when they call up, I think even Rich calls up and says, "I got a great opportunity." Well, that's a little jumping the gun, if you ask me. I don't like that. But he says these recruiters, because they have no experience in the field, they think they have a great they really believe they eat their own dog food. They believe they have a great opportunity when they don't. Okay. So is anyone with me on that they're not just hustling. They think, oh, this is great. Okay. No. Okay. Well, I mean,
we talk about this. 90% of the recruiters suck, right? 10% of the recruiters are the best recruiters, are the ones who are doing 90% of the business out there, and the other 90% they suck. They aren't trained properly, and you're right. They're taught how to just say whatever they can say to get a guy. My old boss used to say, "Cash is king. When in doubt, send them out." Right? Like a bunch of buzzwords that didn't matter. It was all about the money. It didn't matter if it was a good guy or not. You over prepped them to make sure that they interviewed right so they would get hired, whether or not they were a good fit. He didn't care. He just wanted the money.
Oh, that's where you don't like the prepping because you think they're setting them up for as a fake candidate essentially.
Yep.
Okay, here's a tech question for contact info finder. This young woman was saying Whisper Flow is good. Whisper Flow. Anybody hear about it? Whisper
Isn't that the
I think I've heard about it, but I can't remember.
That's a voice dictation.
It's voice dictation. Yeah, isn't that the thing that
Yeah.
your
Whisper.
boy loves? It's a what would you say it was the number one most
Number
protective
two.
app, yada yada yada.
It was number 2. I haven't used it enough because after you
We were
showed me
talking
that,
about it because I
Yeah,
asked
if you
what's
showed me
the
that, it's like,
difference
okay.
between me on Mac, and when his boy explained it, it is really good because it shows all your old conversations. And here's what Mac doesn't do. If I talk to Mac, because I talk to all my stuff all the time, I'll say, hey, I need you to set up for an interview at 4 p.m. No, I'm sorry, 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Can you be there? And also, can you bring your resume? And also your CV. Whisperflow will actually change that to, hey, could you be at the interview at 5 p.m. on Wednesday? Bring your resume and your CV. It won't put all that stuff in there. It actually understands what you're saying and fixes it. It's really good.
Okay, but Dominic says he has it, and just
Thomas
has
Yeah.
everything. He just
I don't
never
even
uses
use
it.
The problem is I don't even use it.
Here's a funny story. It's this guy hired a recruiter with 10 years experience. Okay, she quit after one day. I have to laugh because she said they made her make cold calls, and she thinks that's too salesy, was what she claimed. So he asked her, how do you find candidates? She said, I use InMail. But she had signed an offer letter that said she had to make over 30 calls a day to get a bonus. Okay, so there's two issues there. That she doesn't make cold calls. She says she succeeds with InMails alone. And third, she signed an offer. Are people so sloppy that they'll sign an offer that they don't see everything on it? I mean, we can't see how small the print was, but that's a weird story. Anybody got a comment? I thought it was strange. InMails. Can you make all of your recruits through InMail?
No. This goes right back to what you just said about how recruiters don't know what the hell they're doing. That's a 10%.
She's been in the business 10 years. 10 years, he says she's been in the business. He hired her. She must have been a good talker. Okay, he
Or
hired
something
her.
else.
Let's not go.
Hey, your guys. Hey, Animal, you went to the sewer. I didn't. I'm just, she might have been a coordinator for 10 years and claimed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. She was a recruiter. Okay. Here's a question: when you're it's an intake session with a hiring manager. Okay. Ask them. Listen. Let's say you've got this new hire. A year from now, you're walking down the hall and you tell her, "Hey, Sally, you've done a great job." What would move you to say that? What would you be referring to specifically? And if they can't give you an answer, there's no pain, and that's not a serious job order. Anybody want to take that up? I don't think I'll tell you my initial take. It sounds like an interesting question, but I don't know. It's sort of like, what do you want them to accomplish in 30, 60, and 90 days? I don't know if they've thought in those exact terms. You might have to guide them through that exactly. Anybid
Did we already have this conversation about this?
We've had a conversation about everything, not this specific.
No, but this is a variation of, if I've been here a year and I want to quit, or you want to get rid of me, why? If you want to promote me and I'm doing great, why? What's it going to mean? There's 7 different ways you can
You know
ask
what?
that.
I never heard that before, Alan. I like it.
What?
You want to fire me? Why would that happen? I've never heard.
Animal, if you hire me at Bank of America and after a year I want to leave, what would cause me to? Where did you fail? Or I would ask it as the employer. If I hire you, Animal, and after a year, if you feel you want to quit and you come to me and we talk, what was it that would make you feel that after a year you want to quit?
That's great. I've never heard it before.
I use that one. I used to use that one all the time. I use that one regularly.
If I get hired by you, or if my candidate gets hired by you, and a year from now you want to let her go, what would the reason be? That's a hard one to figure out. I mean, would the average person be able, or manager be able to say, well, she hasn't done A, B, and C. Those are the things that I'm looking for. And if she doesn't get them done, or I'm not satisfied with the way she did them, then I'm going to let her go. Is that easy for a hiring manager to come up with?
No, it's hard.
But but I just got the question from you. I mean, you would never ask that question. Is that what you're saying? You would never.
No, I would ask it of candidates regularly. If you want to leave in a year, where have we failed you?
Okay, and
Right. Would the
candidate have an answer to that?
Well, here's the thing about that. I don't expect a polished answer with that. It's kind of like, tell me about a time you failed. It's a very range issue question for students and new graduates. Simply, will they answer it? Will they talk about some time that they felt failure? Will they be vulnerable enough to answer the question? And then as you get higher level, it's the person understands I needed to take responsibility. We all make mistakes. There's also always stuff that happens. It's more of a will you be vulnerable question, the failure question. So this question, where would we have failed you? It also discloses what maybe this person's non-compensation motivations are. I want to learn, I want to become a project manager. Okay.
Then but the thing is, what you just said is funny. Everybody here says I'm too narrow-minded and black and white. And yeah, when you ask a question that you don't really expect a clear answer to, you're just sort of encouraging me to free associate or something. Question. I don't respond to it's sort of, I just go dumb. I mean, I don't know.
My job in the construction industry, and Tommy, tell me if I'm wrong here. My job is to check. Look, I'm not a project manager. I'm not an executive. I have never built a building. So my job, now I know enough to be dangerous because I've been doing it long enough. I can check Tommy's skills to a certain degree, but I'm really looking at his character, his grit, his stick-to-itiveness, how does he manage and run? How does he like to build, manage, and run a team on a project? How does he get along with the subcontractors? Those are my keys. And then I pass him along.
You're looking at like how he's going to perform. You're basing it basically on he has all the qualifications and he could do the job. I'm assuming that. So let me see how he fits in with our organization. Let me see how he fits in with the stuff that we do. Like more like along like how does our company handle project management? You know those things, right? Yeah. You don't need that's why I do all these engineers. I couldn't do an engineering problem to save my life, but I understand how the company operates, what the culture they look for, what the person's supposed to do, so I can do that to the best of my ability.
Okay, I have a couple of things. Okay, first off, when you were talking about all the different non-compete laws and things like that, I was thinking he always makes a point that he didn't go to university. Okay, this is a smart guy. You can't listen to him talk for a few minutes and not think he's a really smart guy. Okay, and so university doesn't always make it's not always a good qualifier for hiring somebody. I hope you don't mind. I can cut that out if you don't want me to want to hear it. But I think
the thing is too, Adam, was like I know, like I always say I'm a dumbass, right? Because I don't know a lot of certain things, right? I know I'm really good at recruiting, right? So I can comment on all that stuff, but there's stuff I don't know, and that's why when you hear me say like I'm a dumbass that didn't graduate college, it's like because I want people to understand that like you don't necessarily need college to be successful, but it helps.
Okay. Coming back to what Alan was saying, he was saying, well, I've never been an engineer. I want to find out if the person has grit and endurance and stick-to-itiveness. Can you figure those things out in a 20-minute conversation with somebody if they've got grit? I can't.
I don't do it in 20 minutes.
Well, you just said I've talked to the guy for 20 minutes.
I'm telling you the people that have scheduled me for 20 to 30-minute interviews. Okay. You didn't ask what I run is a 30 to 60-minute.
Okay, then how do you just determine if someone has grit?
You talk with them long enough to establish rapport, to have them open up and be vulnerable and describe some situations.
Can you remember any offhand?
Sure. Tell me, I was talking to a newer senior project engineer, assistant project manager. I said, tell me about a time when you went through, I was looking for grit. So it was kind of like, tell me about a time you went through some shit. My father was the sole breadwinner. He injured his back bad. He had to stop working for a while. We lost the house. We had to buy a smaller place. I had to dial down to, and it was very specific. I had to go part-time school, but my mom wouldn't let me quit. Then I transferred, and here's why I transferred this way. Then I went to this university, but I had to stretch that out. By the time there, I was contributing to the household. Okay, this guy, part of a family, contributed to the family, made sacrifice of self. You know, I'm like, I get off the phone and I'm just like, we're hiring this guy.
Okay, so hold on a second. So you would actually ask someone, can you tell me how you've overcome or handled certain problems in your personal life? You would say that?
Batman has a really good question, and I forget how he worded it to me, but it's, I want you to talk to me about a time in your past where you made a decision or you did something, and then sometime down, or you went through something, and then sometime down the road, you realized either A, you regretted the situation, or you realized what you had gone through. Talk to me about what it was, what you learned, blah, blah, and it cannot be a work example.
Man,
People just will open up.
Really? I can't even understand what you just said. I mean,
let me cut it down to the short version, Animal. Give me an example of a time you went through some shit in life and how you got through it.
Okay, that's more straightforward, but I don't think it's my right to ask someone about their personal life. I'm talking about jobs. Anybody agree with me about that?
You would be surprised. By the time I get done with the candidate, I know everything I could possibly can about a personal life.
Way. You're not supposed to ask if you're married. You're not supposed to ask. And if they say, yeah, I've had a number of relationships, I got no kids.
I say, and this is what I say every time. I say, are you married or do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? I see both of those, right? Because the gay people who are afraid to like say anything think that, oh, he's woke. And they'll tell me, oh, yes, well, I am my husband or my wife or my girlfriend or my boyfriend. Because that when you know, like, and it's the reason why I tell you this is I had a company, two companies in Chicago, had a candidate, was interviewing with two different companies, NBC early in my career, and I found out she was gay. And they were partners. They hadn't got married yet. Marriage wasn't legal. But one company provided same-sex benefits for same-sex partners, and the other one didn't, right? And I told her, I said, hey, you have two choices, both good companies. One has benefits for same-sex partners, one doesn't. She took the one with the benefits for the same-sex partners. Had I not known she was gay and had a partner, I wouldn't have figured that out. And that deal could have either went a different direction or she could have went there and hated it and left.
Wow. I just think that's out of bounds for me.
If it's out of bounds, I don't press them on it. I don't say anything. I don't push them. I don't do anything like that.
Unless it's for relocation, then you have to say, look, do you have a family? Do you have family ties that are people are going to
all that stuff?
Yeah, well, you work a lot with relo, okay? But I can't see myself asking personal questions like that.
Why?
But he can ask them. He works in states where you can ask it. I'm not. I mean, legally in California, you can't ask a lot of that.
Okay, so you don't. Oh, yeah, but you just told us. You asked.
Alan, you work for a different company, right? So it's illegal in so many different places.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I know. No, I know that. But Animal, why are you asking?
They say no. I don't. I said, hey, no problem, man. I understand. Don't worry about it. And move on to the next thing. No one's reported me. No one's called the cops on me.
He asks.
I never said I asked if they're married or in a relationship. I said
no. You're cutting me off. You asked, can you tell me about a tough time in your life and how you handled it? That's their
nothing wrong with that. That's a behavioral-based interview question.
That's their personal life. It's their personal life. I've got no right.
No, tell me about Tell me about a time you dealt with some shit.
Yeah.
Right? It could be personal, professional, it doesn't matter. You're asking the question. Tell me about a time. It's a behavioral-based interview question. Tell me about a time you had a serious issue that you had to overcome, and how did you handle it? And they can go professional or they can go private.
Yeah, this is really easy. I was a senior in high school. I just lost my teeth in an accident. My parents were divorcing, and my car needed a new carburetor that I couldn't afford. So what did I do? I bought the rebuild kit for the carburetor, and I bought the solvent to bury it out. You know what? I didn't know jack shit about it. So I went and got a notebook, a bunch of baggies, and all this. I took every single thing apart. I made a note of everything I did. I reverse engineered it after I cleaned it out and put it back together. And you want to know something? The car effing started. I'm proud of that.
There you go. That's it, right
Yeah,
there.
I guess I'll just tell you right now, I wouldn't be able to get to that. Dominic, I think you're on my side.
No.
Sorry, what was the question again? But I'll tell you by the time.
I'll tell you.
By the time I'm done with the call,
I'll
would
tell
you
you.
ask a private one? Would you expect
I
someone to tell you about something private?
Would you ask a person, tell me about a situation in your personal life when you had to overcome some kind of hardship? I would not ask that
I don't
question.
even need to, because by the time I'm done with the call, they don't even know that they just gave me everything about their entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Literally, without even asking it.
interview experts, right? Like, FBI can learn from them.
No. How do you get to that? Okay. Now, I've had people tell me that.
I could show you calls. I don't even know. It just depends on how the first
It's
call
how we
takes
deal
off.
with people. I mean, people like me. I make people like me. I make people comfortable talking to me, and we start talking about, like, I had a client call me today, wanted to know what I was doing this weekend, like with my kids, and he started telling me about his life and how his parents were dead, and he was redoing a house. The vice president of $1 billion company, right? That's what we do, animal. That's what makes us good at what we do.
Okay, well, coming back to Alan, his example, it was fantastic. Okay, I loved it. Now, I have a question. Should candidates actually write cover letters with stories like that don't belong on their resume? That was a terrific story.
No, they
I
shouldn't.
like it.
I'm going to give you my standard cover letter response. When asked, I tell everybody, yes, you should do a cover letter, but it should be very, very short. I mean, 2 or 3 sentences. And the only reason I say that is there's been too many times on conference calls, on videos, on whatever, where people are asked about cover letters, and HR people's responses are, well, if there's not a cover letter, I disqualify them. I'm like, wait a minute, you disqualify the person if it doesn't have a cover letter? Yeah. Well, if there's a cover letter, do you read it? Oh, no, but now I read it. I said, so the price of admission, just to get you to review it, is a cover letter. And I have heard that for many, many years, and I don't like it, and I think it's stupid. But in order for a candidate to hopefully get to another step in the process, I say, just write just do this, but don't write it long.
Okay. Now, I got a question. I'll say one thing. I remember a woman told me that she had a number of people in her family die, and the reason she told me all about that was she had a gap in her resume. And I said, well, what accounted for that? So she said, her father died, then her brother died, and she didn't feel like working for a while. She took it very hard. But I'll come back. I have to challenge Dominic about something. Oh, yeah. Once they're finished talking with me, I know everything about me. Give me an example. Give me an example what you know about these people that compares to what Alan's story just told about how he built a car because he didn't have enough money to buy one.
Literally everything. I have all of them recorded too on video.
Yeah, give me an example, okay?
I don't know. It would just depend. So it depends on how they jump on the call. But I'm dealing with salespeople that are similar to me, so it is just like, okay, it's so easy for. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain. I'll just send you a video. You can watch it. And talk about it.
Okay, so when you're talking to a person who's like you, and he may be like me, you start talking about hockey if the guy plays hockey, right? Or team sports if the guy plays team sports, or Ohio State. All of a sudden, there's some camaraderie that starts there. And then you start talking about family and kids, and they start talking about their family and kids. And then a subject may come up about how their parents died. And next thing you know, he's telling you about that and how he lived in Ocean City, Maryland for 5. I mean, it's just, it's very hard to explain, Animal, but when and I'm assuming Dom's very much like me, when you're interviewing these people,
wait a second,
it's like you've met a friend, you've met a best friend at a bar, and you're having cocktails, and he's pouring his life out to you. That's what we do.
Now,
exactly.
Your clients always want extroverted people. You've told us a number of times. Okay, what if it's an introvert you're talking to, and are they going to be that sharing with their personal lives to a stranger?
Well, I mean, again, I don't deal with a lot of the introverted engineers. The conversation ends pretty quickly, right? Because I can't use them. But if I can't use them,
those guys. But
then you need to kind of pull things out a little bit. You can't be too pushy, and you just kind of see how it goes, right? You see what they're willing to share and what they're not willing to share, right? And I'll give you a great example. Okay, so there was this guy in Texas who I was recruiting for a business development analyst, right? I had a client who wanted someone who could come in and look at their whole business and kind of analyze it. And he was like a controller / accounting supervisor, and he had an MBA. And we started talking. He's in Texas, And he was very standoffish about his salary, about his business, anything, right? And then the next conversation, a little more open. By the third conversation, I found out that he was gay, that he lived with his grandmother, that her parents were dead. And this guy started out extremely introverted, didn't want to talk about anything. And he even said to me, Tom, I deal with a lot of recruiters over my time. You're the first guy I've ever told this to. So I don't know what to tell you, Animal, but I have that personality that for some reason people like to talk to me and tell me about themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's been a fascinating part of this conversation. Okay. That's the end of the show. That's it for today. That's the end of the show. I've already gave Dominic his show at the beginning. I told you about it. Tom has a lot of shows. Not Friday though. It's a holiday in the United States. The Recruiter.
Happy Canada Day too.
Yeah. Happy Canada Day.
The recruiter roundtable.com. You can find about all your shows there. Am I right about that? The recruiterroundtable.com.